Denise. Denise. It's Denise. It's Denise. It's Denise. Denise. It's a podcast party. It's a podcast party. It's a podcast party.
I gotta say, I feel like we're besties now after this. What's up, guys? It's Denise Salcedo. Hey there, everyone. Welcome to the channel. It is Denise Salcedo. You're watching Speak Now Pro Wrestling November 16th here on F4W Online. Make sure to subscribe. And we got to talk about Dynamite, which was the go-home show today for heading into AEW Full Gear, the final Dynamite before the big show. Not the big show, although we will talk about the big show later. But before the big show, it's going to be, we kind of got a lot to get into here today, everyone, and I'm in a pretty damn good mood today. I'm just really excited about things, everyone. I don't know how else to say this. I'm just very excited across the board about a bunch of stuff. But before we get to just everything, I do want to let you guys know that this, oh my God, I had the Jon Moxley moment for a second. I was like, this Saturday, this Sunday, which day is it? This Saturday, I will be at AEW Full Gear. And I mentioned this on yesterday's podcast when I was talking about NXT, but I mentioned that they officially announced, and this has already been put out there, but they officially made it clear to all the media that there is going to be a media scrum following AEW Full Gear. Tomorrow, Tony Khan is doing a media briefing as well. And then, so I wonder how that's going to go. And then we're actually going to do the media scrum following Full Gear. And I'm curious because usually for these media scrums, they tend to bring out certain people that, you know, obviously won matches, if you see a new champion, etc. So I feel like this one has a really good potential of being really good. And more so, I'm curious as to whether or not we're actually going to be seeing the Elite in the media scrum. I don't know, but I'm praying for it. All right, everyone, I am praying for it. I'm really hoping we do, but who knows? I'm pretty sure for lots of reasons we probably won't, but who the hell knows anymore? So anyway, so it's going to be a fun weekend, and I will be making sure to keep you guys posted with all of that. You guys know the drill already. Also, before we get into AEW Dynamite today, just a heads up, everybody, in order to help support this podcast, if you enjoy this show, if you just want to, you know, show some love, show some whatever, you are more than welcome to send in a super chat at any point throughout the show. It also helps because not only do you help support me on this platform, but on top of that, you also get your question, comment, or statement, recipe, hot take, opinion. That's the same thing as a hot take, kind of. Whatever it is, feel free to send it in a super chat, and I will make sure to read those as we go through the entire show today. You all know the drill. We actually got our first super chat of the day, and this is from Grapple Geekery, who says, are you bringing a helmet for the scrum? I'm bringing 2 things. And you want to know? Okay, I'm bringing 3 things. I'm bringing 4 things. I only need 4 things. Me, my phone, my camera, and my microphone. That is all. That is all I need. And I will be A-okay. So we'll see how that all turns on. Thank you so much to Grapple Geekery for sending this. I might bring in some muffins too. You know what? Count that as 5. I'm going to be bringing 5 things. Grapple Geekery, thank you so much for the super chat. Seriously. Zito says, Denise, wear riot gear for the media scrum. Bro, I should show up in those like hazmat suit. No, definitely riot gear. Yeah, I'll definitely show up in that for sure because I'll be there, you know. I don't know. All right. Hey, I'm just saying, next time, if the stars align and there's another madness, brawl, or something that legitimately happens, you know, backstage, this time I'm going to be prepared. If I see any security guards running out, I'm going to run after them, be making sure I get that footage, man, because, you know, I think about this sometimes. I think about, like, the all-out media scrum, and I'm like, I replay things in my head, and I'm like, oh, I could have done this differently. I could have done that differently. And I think to myself, what if I would have gone to the bathroom right after that security guard ran out? Like, what if I would have gone to the bathroom? I could have gone to the bathroom and maybe seen something. Like, I thought about that. But anyways, I didn't. Let's get into the show, everybody. We got the opening match. Actually, before we get into that, I do want to preface this. I thought that AEW Dynamite tonight was really good. Okay. I didn't think it was too much. I thought it was just the right amount of razzle dazzle that we need ahead of AEW Full Gear. I thought that they gave us a lot of good in-ring content. I feel that for the most part, all the matches tonight delivered. Like, I can't think right now off the top of my head of one match that I thought sucked or anything like that. No, I thought that everything delivered. I loved all of the packages that we got, all of the promos that we got. I just thought that across the board, from top to bottom, the pacing and just the way that everything was set up, I was a big fan of the way that they actually did today's show. So let's get into it. We had our opening match, and this was Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara versus Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli. As you guys know, all these four guys are heading into the four-way at Full Gear for the ROH World Championship. And so this was really what this was getting these guys in there. We were seeing a lot here that I think I just really enjoyed. And what that was really, I mentioned that we got a lot of good in-ring action today. I thought this match was probably the most hard-hitting of the night because they really went all out there, and they worked a pretty fast-paced match, but not like what we saw later on with like the Death Triangle and stuff like that. Like this match, it was a little bit different in that sense, but we got a lot of really good stuff. Like they started clobbering each other really right from the start. I absolutely loved that they kicked things off with Bryan Danielson and Sammy literally going at it with each other because they just came out of that 2 out of 3 falls match that we just saw last week. So I really like that they made sure not to like forget about that. Like these guys, you can still argue that they have like unfinished business. Just because you fought someone last week and you're in a tag team match this week doesn't mean that you're like not beelining towards that person. So I really, really liked all of that. But there were a lot of really great spots in this, including Cesaro doing the vertical suplex on Sammy Guevara, which ended up looking even better because as Cesaro had, this grown whoever. I mean, I'm assuming Sammy weighs like what, 160, 180 pounds? I don't know. He has this guy, grown size guy, carrying him and doing the vertical suplex. But on top of that, he is also kind of doing like these lunges as he's lifting up Sammy, holding up his body. Like that was freaking dope. Really freaking dope. And there was a moment where Sammy gouged, whatever the hell the word is. Oh my God, I'm blanking on the word. Freaking stabbing the eyes of Bryan Danielson. And I like that it wasn't necessarily that portion of that I liked. I liked that immediately afterwards, once Cesaro and once Claudio got back into the ring, he was the one that was essentially stretching out Chris Jericho and like taunting Sammy Guevara right in front of him for essentially doing the gouging, that's the word, the eye gouging of Sammy Guevara of Bryan Danielson's eyes. So I kind of like that little like tit for tat kind of deal. That was pretty fun to see during this. Bryan Danielson doing like the running drop kick a couple of times on Sammy was really freaking great. Jericho implements the bat, brings it into this ring. The ref isn't looking, and he uses it on Bryan Danielson. And you're thinking like, oh shit, like this is the way things are going to go down. But we get so much more action out of this. There was a great spot too where Jericho had Claudio in the walls of Jericho, and then Bryan Danielson literally comes off of the top rope right with a drop kick right into Chris Jericho. Danielson locking the label lock on Sammy Guevara. Bryan doing the dive to the outside to Sammy. All of that was freaking great. The finish, Jericho trying to use the bat on Claudio Castagnoli, and Claudio grabbing him and doing the big swing on him while Chris Jericho is holding on to the bat, guys. I seriously marked the hell out for this. This was freaking cool. And we've seen Jericho get the big swing at this point quite a few times. Like he takes it very, very well. I noticed that when Claudio does it on Jericho, it tends to last a little bit longer longer. So that's always really impressive. And this time with the bat, dude, imagine like Jericho had like really sweaty hands or something, and then all of a sudden that bout just like freaking flew out of his hands and hit somebody. Like that could have definitely happened with somebody who wasn't careful. So anyways, Claudio ends up tapping out Jericho in this match, getting the win for his team. And I like that they gave Cesaro the win here, allowed him to get the victory for his team here, because I feel like, ever since I feel like, given that Claudio is obviously a former ROH world champion, I feel like they got to, just give him a little bit of how do I say, like a boost, or just like kind of remind us like, hey, like this guy held the championship. He's going into this fatal 4-way. He definitely has a shot in this match. And I feel like given this performance and then him actually getting the win, it was kind of like, oh, you know what? Maybe whatever, if you were thinking there was like a 0% chance of Claudio winning, maybe now you have a 10%. Now you're thinking, maybe now it's up to 10%. So I feel like they really made Claudio look really great in this. I mean, they all looked great in this. This was honestly a really good way to kick off the show. I was a fan of this one. We got Grapple Geekery says, that will now be known as Salcedo math. I don't know what I did. What did I do? Did I do something about math? I don't even remember. Grapple Geekery, I'm terribly sorry. I'm completely blanking on what you're talking about. I know you're talking about Steiner math, but did I just do math on this show? It's been, 11 minutes. I do not recall doing math, so I'm a little bit out of it right now. We got 554K who sends in a super chat saying, hola, me voy a intentar a decir eso. Esto en español, eres la reina de los tweets y los memes de lucha libre y la más hermosa persona en el IWC and YouTube. Thank you so much to 554K for sending this super chat here in Spanish. For those of you listening here that do not speak Spanish, you just basically put over my my tweets and my YouTube channel. So thank you so much to 554K for sending in the super chat and doing it in Spanish too, because I speak Spanish, but I am a terrible I'm not very good at reading Spanish though, so that's always a little bit of a challenge for me. So as you can tell clearly. All right, let's continue on from here, everybody. All right, so good opening match for the most part. Let's get into this. We only have a little bit to talk about this, and this is the body bag video that we got with Sting and Darby. So I freaking love this. So one of the things that Jeff Jarrett, I know you guys don't like him, but one of the things he's been saying is that he's going to leave these guys and leave everybody in AEW essentially in body bags. So that's been his big thing, body bags. And to be honest, that's definitely not something that's going to terrify somebody like Darby Allin. Darby Allin gives 0 Fs, man. Like, you can put this guy in a coffin. You can put him in anything that would terrify like me and you in a room full. He could be on Fear Factor and do very, very well. I don't know if that's still a thing. I don't think Fear Factor is still a thing, but I remember it being a thing. Darby's the kind of person that would thrive in those scenarios. But either way, so they kind of do, a take off of Jeff Jarrett's comments with the body bags, and you see Darby. It's a black and white video, and it shows Darby in a full-on body bag being picked up by Sting. And Sting is in the car, basically chilling, having breeze in his hair. And he puts the body bag in the backseat of the car, and Darby zippers himself out of it and just crosses on over and gets into the front seat. So, I think about this, and this was cool, right? See Darby get himself out of the body bag. But if Sting was a real friend, shouldn't Sting just unzipped him? It takes 5 seconds. He could have just unzipped him. Hey, dude, come sit shotgun. We're bros. But Darby unzipped himself, gets himself to the passenger side, and they pretty much cruise, and Sting just basically says that Full Gear will be Showtime. This really was just more for the memes, honestly. We end up getting a very quick promo with Sanjay Dutt, Jay Lethal, and Satnam Singh and Jeff Jarrett backstage, and he basically says that he and Sting have wrestled for 24 years, and at Full Gear, this will be the last time. So it was very brief, very straightforward. And I'm thinking that the reason they kept it very brief is because the Jeff Jarrett segments haven't necessarily gotten high markings from AEW fans. A lot of AEW fans have not been so thrilled with the Jeff Jarrett stuff. So I feel like they kind of just decided to keep it a little bit on the brief side this week. But I really loved just the way that video was shot. So good stuff. We continue on with music. We continue on with videos. This time, we get the acclaimed music video. And this was something. This was essentially they're mocking, obviously, Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, right? So they're mocking them. They have Paul White, the Big Show, bringing back his Captain Insano character from The Water Boy, and they're doing this whole thing. They're like interviewing him. They have guys calling in. Supposedly, they're supposed to be dressed as Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland, and they're calling in, asking a question, and they're just like being mocked and whatnot. And it really ends with, not ends with, but there's a really funny. Let me upload this because we get a very funny clip of them just like laughing onto the camera. And it almost looks like, I don't know, I've never done drugs in my life. If I did drugs, I feel like this is what I would see. Just a bunch of this. And here what we got on the screen is Paul White looking all, I don't even know what the word is to describe what he's looking like here. But we get a bunch of close-ups of the Acclaimed and Paul White doing a bunch of this. And finally, we get into the actual music video itself. And in this music video, they're literally doing like the cheesiest thing, but it freaking works because they're on the beach. They're shooting a music video at the beach. They're like scissoring each other and just having a good time, walking around like a family. I think they're even holding hands at one point. I mean, they really look like a nice little family, the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn there. So this was that. On top of that, there was a mention that I thought was pretty noteworthy. So if you guys, every Sunday, I do the After the Week podcast on my YouTube channel. It's with myself and Will Washington. Well, he was low-key mentioned in this music video because one of the lines that was mentioned in during this music video was about Swerve having family in the dirt sheets. And he basically saying that Swerve is evil for being associated with the media. And there was a bunch of other stuff, but I died when I heard this. I was like, oh my God. Right away, I texted Will and I was like, bro, this is about you, huh? And he was like, yep, it's about me. So that was pretty cool. I can't wait to get his actual thoughts on it and see how he felt, because I'm pretty sure, I'm assuming he didn't see it coming. I don't think he saw it coming because his reaction via text was definitely, he was caught off guard. So I can't wait to hear his thoughts on being mentioned in this music video for being related to Swerve. All right, so let's get on to this. We got a super chat here from the Cooge97. Thank you so much to the Cooge, who says, Bandido, Captain Insano, AR Fox, Death Triangle versus the Elite, June and Takeshita on AEW Rampage Friday. Great night. Loved your tweets tonight, Denise. Honestly, AEW gave me a lot of good material tonight. I'm usually on point with the tweets and stuff because I try to make like a fun account, but it helps when they give me good material. There's times where I'm reaching, where I'm like, okay, this could be funny. This is funny. Yeah, this works. But tonight they gave me a whole lot of material. So I was very happy about that. Thank you so much to the Cooge97 for getting this super chat sent in here. Send in your thoughts, guys. I will be pulling them up again if you want to make sure that your question, comment, or statement gets read on the stream. And if you also want to help support this podcast, please do send in any super chats. I'm on a sick budget right now, everybody. I might as well just let you guys all know. I'm on a sick budget after purchasing Taylor Swift tickets. Yes, I survived the Hunger Games, so I'm going to be pushing them super chats because I got a Capital One bill to pay, man. All right, so let's get into, obviously, after the music video, this led into Swerve versus Bowens. This was a pretty fun little match that they did here. There was an interesting line, and I'm curious to see what you guys thought about about this because for the most part, Max Caster does a lot of like really funny lines, right? I think he's only really gotten heat for one of them, which was the one that he did a while back about Simone, when the whole thing happened when she dropped out of the Olympics and just basically all of that. And you know that happened a long time ago. But we got another one, and this was about Jay Leno. There was a line that included Jay Leno burning himself this past week. So I didn't know what the reaction was for that line, but it did kind of take me aback just a little bit. I don't think I've caught up with the latest on Jay Leno. I just read that he was burned while fixing his car or something like that, but I haven't followed up and seen like the updates other than the initial news. So I was like, oh shit, Max Caster went there. What? But anyways, we then moved on to the actual match, and this was pretty good. There was a moment, and this basically led to the end where Strickland kind of like snaps the arm of Bowens, and then afterwards he hits a top rope swerve stomp, and he goes for the pin, but it's a 2 count, so he doesn't get the 3. Bowens tries to get a schoolboy in on Swerve Strickland, but again he goes for the arm again and ends up getting a clean victory, hitting the JML driver. So that was a pretty good victory for Swerve, I would say, getting this win here. And I'm not doing any predictions here tonight because I am doing a separate prediction show tomorrow morning on my YouTube channel for Full Gear. But I feel like this is lending more towards, I don't think that the Acclaimed are going to be losing at Full Gear. I think it would be a mistake to have them lose at Full Gear. So I feel like Swerve getting the win here tonight just continue to further that whole theory along. But now they're basically telling the story of like, shit, like, you know, Bowens isn't necessarily going to be 100% if he attacked that shoulder. And even after the match, we were still seeing Bowens hold on to that shoulder. So I'm like, that's definitely going to play some sort of role in the Full Gear match. So we'll see what happens and what ends up going down with all of that. I have people asking here if it's a little bit too soon for them to lose the titles. Hell yeah. I personally think it's way too soon for the Acclaim to lose the titles, especially because they're one of the hottest acts that they have right now. And that's not to say that Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee are not hot, but it is the Acclaimed that they're the ones that are getting these massive reactions and signs and merch. And I don't know if you guys saw the tweet that I posted, or saw on Shop AEW that they just put out some new ugly Christmas sweaters. And there's one that says "Scissor me underneath the mistletoe." I kind of want to buy that. If it wasn't $50, I would so buy it. If it was a little cheaper, I'd buy it. But right now I'm on a budget, so it ain't happening. Let's see what else we got here. Let's get into some comments here. This one's from Andrew Cook here, who says, you kind of knew that Bowens was going to lose because Swerve has more of a singles career, but Bowens really showed his toughness with all the kickouts tonight. Yeah, I think that was definitely something that stood out for sure. So thank you so much to Andrew for sending this in as well. This is from Justin, who says Swerve needed the win and it was a good match. Still think the Acclaim retain on Saturday. That's kind of where I'm at too. Honestly, it's a little bit of where I'm at too. All right, so let's get into the events that unfolded with Samoa Joe, Wardlow, and Hobbs. So Tony Schiavone is interviewing Samoa Joe in the ring, and he basically asked him, like, why'd you turn on Wardlow the way that you did? And Samoa Joe basically said that he doesn't want to sit around and be a victim, says he doesn't want to wait for anyone to save him. He's going to save himself. So basically insinuating that Wardlow was going to do the same thing to him, but he just basically beat him to the punch, that sort of thing. And says if anybody has a problem with it, they can take it up with him. And as he's talking about all of this, Hobbs comes out. And Hobbs, we've talked about him looking pretty much so jacked up. Like, we are seeing the glow up of Hobbs right now. He's officially had his glow up, man. He's big, he's beefy, he looks good. Like, I was already a fan of Hobbs, but I always still saw him as somebody that was new, somebody that still had to do, a lot more to really, just so that I could feel convinced, right? To see him in certain positions, you got to do a little something, right? recently with Hobbs just really getting incredibly fit, and I don't know how else to describe it, but when he's been coming out lately, he's had this new kind of energy where he just screams bad ass. And I like this because keep in mind he's in there with Wardlow. Wardlow, who's TNT, is TNT champion. He was part of a major program with MJF. Coming off of that, he gets the gold, and he's a very popular guy, right? Then you have Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe is not the kind of guy that you say, oh, he looks like he's acting as a wrestler. No, this man, it doesn't take much to buy that he is a legit ass kicker. Like, he will, like, if you see Samoa Joe down the street, ain't nobody messing with Samoa Joe, all right? Like, you see him and you're like, nah, that dude would fuck me up. So he just has that kind of presence. So, and when you are going to be in a program with Wardlow and with Samoa Joe, and you are still relatively making a name for yourself, you really have to bring in this type of personality, this type of energy. And I feel that Hobbs has really started to show that, to the point where I don't feel, sometimes there's some three ways where you're like, this match would have been better without this third person. We could have just had so-and-so together. I actually am a little bit more excited that Hobbs is in this match. And granted, I would have definitely just taken Wardlow and Samoa Joe, but I kind of like that they added Hobbs into all of this, because why the hell not? Like, I was just rewatching a video from one of Chris Jericho's earlier scrums, and one of the things that he was talking about in that was that, a lot of the criticism that AEW gets is that they put way too many people on TV, right? Way too many people. And obviously, the booking has always been, there's always going to be people that disagree and don't like certain things. But Jericho basically said, the reason why we put so many people on AEW programming is because, we want everybody to have some sort of purpose on the show. So I feel like, yeah, they had something here. They could have definitely had something here with just Samoa Joe and Wardlow, and that can continue on and be what happens later on. But I feel that adding Hobbs to this is just kind of like getting somebody else over, getting the rub from Samoa Joe, from Wardlow. He did the work. He looks jacked. I really like the position that this has put Hobbs in, and I feel he's actually complimenting it instead of taking away from it, rather. So I'm glad about this. So anyways, he comes out and he basically says that he's the one that's been kicking Wardlow's ass the past several weeks, and even offers to kick the ass of Samoa Joe. And Samoa Joe's like, get your ass in here. He don't care. Samoa Joe's like, get your ass in here. Wardlow's music plays, and this was interesting. Wardlow's music plays, but instead he comes out from behind and he attacks Samoa Joe from behind. He spears him. That was interesting. The fact that he came from behind. I think the only reason I'm justifying this is because this is not the character of Wardlow. I mean, we're talking about Wardlow, a guy who fought like 100 security guards, right? But the way that I'm seeing this, I think he wanted to catch Samoa Joe off guard the way that Samoa Joe caught him off guard last week. And I'm thinking he also just didn't want to have to go through Powerhouse Hobbs and Samoa Joe, so kind of keeping a little bit of strategy. So even though it's a little bit unlike Wardlow to go about that tactic, I thought it kind of worked for this particular story here. So it's fine. Finally, after this, it basically becomes a brawl, like what you normally see in AEW. But there was a great spot where Wardlow just freaking flies over the goddamn ring, over the ropes, and he just lands on like a million guys, but it looked freaking great. It was a great visual. And anytime Wardlow does anything that you're like, that guy of that size shouldn't be doing, it's very hella impressive. So anyways, this was good stuff. I'm excited for the triple threat. Like I said, I think Hobbs definitely adds to it in a good way. Brandon Charles Powell sends in a generous super chat. Thank you so much to Brandon. Brandon says, Samoa Joe would be the scariest dad ever. If he yelled at me, I would cry. Keep up the excellent work, Denise. Thank you so much, Brandon. And if Samoa Joe yelled at me too, I would freaking cry. So I interviewed Samoa Joe, and you guys can watch this interview on my YouTube channel and go and watch it, because I look fucking nervous. I was so nervous. Like, I don't get nervous anymore when I interview certain people. Only sometimes there's times where I'm like, okay, like shit, this is a big name. Oh my God, I'm a little nervous. Like I was a little nervous when I interviewed Seth Rollins because I didn't know that I was going to get the interview. It's like, shit, Seth Rollins enters the room. Okay, so this was how that went. Seth Rollins entered the room. I had no idea I was going to interview him. I had nothing planned for Seth Rollins whatsoever. He enters the room and Adam, who handles PR for WWE, great guy. He looks at me and he's like, "Oh, go over there with Denise, right?" And I'm like, oh, "They're bringing me Seth Rollins right now. Holy shit, Denise, think and go." And in those situations, you got to think really fast, right? So, anyways, I was nervous for that interview too. But Samoa Joe, oh man, I was so freaking nervous for Samoa Joe because he's very intimidating. And obviously he's a nice guy, right? Like he's not mean or anything like that, but he just has a very intimidating presence where I'm like shaking in my boots, type of thing. And I'm like, please, Denise, do not say anything stupid that would make you look like an idiot in front of Samoa Joe. And the first thing I said was, "Oh my God, I'm such a big fan. I loved your matches with Kenta Kobashi. And then thank you so much for doing this interview. Let's get started." So yeah, take that for what you will. But anyway, Samoa Joe just has an intimidating presence for sure. Thank you so much to Brandon Charles for sending in this generous super chat. It's much appreciated. Sorry if I went off on a tangent talking about other things. But all right. Let's get into Britt Baker. So last week, it kind of got a little complicated here. And the complication was really, so there were people that I feel were somewhat split on the events that unfolded with Saraya and Britt Baker last week. Now, I was on the side of I loved it. I loved it. I really did. And there was a lot of people who did not. And they did not for one of the reasons really just being kind of that Britt Baker. And this was something that I did mention last week. Britt Baker was making a whole lot of sense in that interview. In that promo. She was making a lot of sense because it's true. Saraya didn't help build AEW. She wasn't there from the beginning. Britt Baker was. So for her to come in and be like, "Oh, this is my house." If I'm Britt Baker, bro, I would be freaking pissed. If somebody came in to Speak Now Pro Wrestling and was like, "Oh, this is my house," I'd be like, "Bro, were you here the last 500 episodes?" I don't think so. So I get it, man. So I feel like this is my theory. Based on what we saw last week, based on what we saw, especially more so, even so today from Britt Baker, I have a feeling that the tables are going to turn, guys. Britt Baker felt a little bit babyface to me today. And let me run this through. And I'm curious to see if anybody else here in the chat kind of got that vibe, because I kind of did. So Britt Baker comes out and she basically says that although Saraya poked fun at her for only being on TV, for being in AEW for 3 years, that in those 3 years, she went from this happy girl of like, "Oh, I'm just glad to be here," right? To this tenacious, confident woman. All right. That to me, that's, I can applaud for that. I like that. I like that Britt Baker said that. Okay, continue on. I can't hate her for saying that. Continue on. She says, "I became my own role model." And then this is the part that really got me thinking, what the hell is going to happen on At Full Gear? Because she brings up the pandemic era. We all remembered how they had to do all of those shows out of Daly's place in Jacksonville. And she basically says, we kept the fire of the fans and their passion for this brand. We kept it burning. Like we kept it going. And you, Saraya, will never be part of that era. You will never know of that era. And that to me, that got a great little reaction from the crowd, guys. Like that was a complete babyface portion of this promo. And I in particular even liked it even more because it was straight to the camera. She wasn't being interviewed. This was just her and the camera, connecting and whatnot. So I do have a feeling that we're going to see more of a babyface Britt Baker. She says she's the heart and soul and pulse of AEW, and Saraya can get the hell out because this is her house. And she did get cheered during this. Later on, Saraya does talk to Renee, and she basically says that she's just done with the back and forth, and she's done talking about it, and she's ready for Full Gear. Now, shout out to Chris Van Vliet, who recently did an interview with Saraya. I thought there was a lot of good stuff from that interview. One of which I feel is important to know is that Saraya did say that she absolutely knows that she's going to be heavily scrutinized with whatever it is that she does in this match coming up at Full Gear. So it's going to be interesting because I feel like the fans kind of turned on Saraya. Some of the fans, obviously not everybody, but some of the fans I feel kind of turned on Saraya a little bit. And I think a big reason for that was just a lot of the content that was occurring between her debut to now. And so they kind of turned on her a little bit. So I do think no matter what, she is going to be scrutinized in that match, which is, unfortunate because it's her first match back, guys, in nearly 5 years. She nearly, really severe. She really severely injured herself and all of that. So it is kind of crazy. And I felt really bad for her because she said that she was not going to go on social media following this match at Full Gear, that she's not going to go in at all. I don't blame her. I really don't blame her because whatever happens on that match, like let's say she feels she does a great job and that the match went great and it's perfect and she's like, riding on cloud 9, she can easily go on social media and see people saying like, oh, she's not the same anymore. Oh, she sucks. Or why did Tony Khan spend this much money? Or whatever the hell you see people say on social media. That could really easily bring down a person. So I did kind of feel for her when she said that she's not going to go on social media following her match with Britt Baker. So that was something to take away from that. I thought was pretty interesting. So I almost feel like we may see a shift, a turn of the tables here for Britt Baker and Saraya. Let's get some thoughts. What did you guys think about this? We have a very generous super chat from Chris Rains. Thank you so much to Chris, man. Chris says this was probably my favorite Brit promo, and she has had some good ones. I agree. I think we get a double turn. The crowd loves her, so they should go with it. And I agree with you too. I think this was, it's hard to say because Britt Baker has had a lot of really good promos, and you can't remember them all verbatim, especially. But this one, I think it was more so what really worked. And I know she's done ones where she's talking straight to the camera before, but I just feel this one hit a little bit different. And I think the reason for this one was legitimately the pandemic portion of the promo that she was talking about. Jacksonville, dude, I think that really resonated with AEW fans because that was kind of a interesting period. And they really kept things going, like literally the best that they could. And she was part of that too. So I feel like that really connected with people. And that was the best part. So this was definitely a good promo. And I hope we get to see more stuff like this, which I'm sure we will, because she's already now at a certain level where her promos for the most part are, pretty good, pretty solid, continuously back to back, right? Thank you so much to Chris Rains for this very generous super chat. Seriously, shout out. All right, we got a couple more super chats in here that I need to bring up. This one is from Heidi Ho. It's not a bot, who says Saraya should totally embrace being the heel in this feud. I mean, might as well, right? And that's the thing. Like, I really thought that Saraya coming in and being somebody that went through this whole up and down journey, I really thought that she would be, accepted with open arms. And she was in the beginning when she debuted. Everybody loved it. But I just think everything that followed the next couple of weeks, especially that first live promo that she did, I think that probably hurt her a lot more than some of us may think. And that was, we talked about that heavily when that happened. That was not a good promo, was not a good segment. And, we broke that down back then. But I do think that it kind of impacted how people felt about Saraya. And so now, maybe they should embrace her turning heel, and it's very easy. Like she can basically be like, I'm literally coming back from this, I'm literally out here risking my life and putting my neck on the line again. And blah, blah, blah. She can go off from there. So it's a really easy way to get that double turn going, but we'll see what happens. Either way, Heidi Ho is not a bot. Thank you so much for sending in this super chat. I appreciate it. A whole lot. All right, so let's continue on from here. Let's see. Let's get into what was probably one of the best matches of the night. It definitely was up there, and this was Death Triangle versus Daunte, Darius, and AR Fox. Obviously, Top Flight and AR Fox. Shit, this was fucking good. This was really good. This was a lot of fun. I don't know how to explain it. We got some great teamwork from both sides, but I in particular want to put over Death Triangle because damn, there was so much good stuff. Them doing the three-way drop kick, that was freaking good. There was a moment where Top Flight literally launched Pac into AR Fox and then got him with a cutter, literally slingshotted a man. That was brilliant. I love that. A Black Arrow from Pac for the win. I mean, I just literally named 3 things because I was so into this match. I wasn't writing everything down move for move. It was literally just a lot of fast-paced action. Very good to see Top Flight getting to team once again. Obviously, Darius, how was, taking care of injuries and stuff like that. So him being back out here, good for them, man. They really came through here tonight. Like, this was chef's kiss for them. Get them back up on there as a team. Put them back on the map. AR Fox did a great job too. All of them, thumbs up, man. I want to see these guys be rewarded. Honestly, that's about it because the major story here is obviously the big announcement. And I love the way they did it too. I love this. It was very simple. They show the graphic on the screen of Death Triangle and they have this empty space, and no, it was not John Cena. John Cena's not gonna wrestle them. Let me pull this up. Let me pull it up. Okay. And then out of nowhere, you see the graphics start to show a reveal of who their opponents are going to be. And then we see the Elite. Now, we spoke about this last week because they pretty much were telling us without telling us that the Elite were going to be coming to Full Gear with that teaser video that they did last week. It was already showing so much that basically alluded to them coming out here. And this had been reported a couple weeks ago that the thought was that it would be the Elite against the Death Triangle. And obviously, as much as I love the Death Triangle and as much as I want to continue seeing them as the Trios champions, it's definitely going to be the Elite. They have to come out winning at Full Gear. I can't see it going any other way. They got to get their belts back and they got to do what they had originally planned for those bouts. But there you go. The Elite are officially coming back to AEW, coming back at Full Gear, and I really hope we get that dang media scrum. We got people putting over how insane the crowd was. Completely agree with all of that, man. They were pretty hot for that match with Death Triangle and Top Flight and AR Fox. So there you go, guys. Expect the Elite at Full Gear because it is happening. All right, so now let's get into one of the other things that we have to talk about, which was the tournament. And let me pull up the graphic here. So today we got Ethan Page versus Bandido. Ethan Page, who obviously already defeated Eddie Kingston, Bandido, who defeated Rush. And so they went head to head here tonight. And this was a pretty good match, guys. This was a fun one. Bandido literally going out there and just doing beautiful things, beautiful moonsault off the top, off the top of the ring post, actually. Brilliant stuff. He makes things look like nothing. Like, it is so simple the way he does things, so smooth. Hits a really nice tornado onto Ethan Page immediately after inside the ring. A lot of good stuff. There's a moment with Page body slams him off of the top rope onto the floor. Finally, he hits the Eagle's Edge and pins Bandido. Bandido and Page were definitely two of the people that I considered seeing go all the way. My first pick was Bandido, guys. Like, I was rooting for Bandido, but I knew that there was a good shot that it was going to be Ethan Page going into the finals. And it's Ethan Page, and this is huge for him. This is the most high-profile thing at least in my eyes, that he's done in AEW. And he's, been there now for a hot minute. He's been there. So I feel like this is finally going to be his opportunity to prove himself on AEW. So I'm happy for Ethan, and he's obviously going to go into the excuse me, I'm blanking right now, into the finals, excuse me. All right, and then we are still going to be seeing Ricky Starks and Lance Archer in the title eliminator tournament match this Friday. So that's going to be a good one too. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm thinking that it's going to be Ricky Starks, but we'll see. And my prediction is still that it's going to be, now from the looks of it, it's got to be Ricky Starks, Ethan Page. That's looking like it's going to be the finals, but we'll see what the hell happens, guys. All right. And let's go ahead and jump into our next topic here. And really quickly, we had Toni Storm versus Anna Jay. It was supposed to be the Bunny, but she was out, I believe, due to illness, or she wasn't feeling too good. So they replaced her with Anna Jay. This was not bad. I thought that this was going to be just like, whatevers, but I actually thought it ended up being a little bit better than that. This was a fun little match between Toni and Anna. Toni got the win, clearly. And after this, Jamie Hayter comes out and confronts Toni Storm. And here's the thing, guys. Like, they're keeping things very simple with Jamie. They're keeping things like, I don't know, like something. I know that Jamie Hayter is like the popular person heading into this, but they haven't really been presenting her that much, in the sense where I'm thinking, like, I'm wondering if she's going to win or not. I'm not as convinced. Like, they've been having her go out there and get some wins, get some singles wins and all of that. But I feel like we need to hear from her. I feel like we need to hear more from Jamie Hayter than we have. I don't know. I feel like we just need a little bit more attention. Like, this is the interim AEW Women's World Championship match that we're talking about. And so I do kind of feel like there needs to be a little bit more attention on that Toni Storm, Jamie Hayter stuff. Like, just a simple face-to-face. It just felt very, just there. It just felt like it was very simple. I think I would have just liked a little bit more heading into the actual pay-per-view match. So I did kind of think, like, okay, well, this feels very, like, it just felt like kind of vanilla, like there was nothing else to really add to that. Nothing else. So we'll see what the hell happens. I have no idea. All right. So before we get into the main event, we do got a couple of matches that were announced for AEW Rampage this Friday. We got Eddie Kingston and Ortiz going up against Jun Akiyama and Takeshita. And that was something that had everybody like freaking out on social media. It was something that had already been, there was rumors about it, but I think the original rumors that I saw going around was Eddie Kingston versus Akiyama. But then they ended up making it into a tag team. So I didn't see the rumors about the tag team. Had seen the rumors about the singles match happening. But anyway, so they're doing the tag team match, which I think is just a better way to go about it. I think it'll be a lot better throwing in Takeshita in there. So I think this one will be pretty fun. And I think that this is what you need for Rampage. This is one of the things that they need for Rampage. Adding stuff that you didn't think you were going to be seeing. So damn, thumbs up. Ricky Starks versus Lance Archer in the title eliminator. Hoping to see Ricky Starks win that. Hook defending his FTW title against Lee Moriarty. And Athena will be taking on Madison Rayne. So for the most part, I would say for the most part, this is a pretty okay Rampage lineup. The tag team match is definitely having people buzzed and talking about it. You want to tune into the title eliminator match because that's important. And Hook is over and Lee Moriarty is pretty popular too. So I would say that's a good little chunk of a couple of reasons to tune into AEW Rampage. Solid stuff. All right, main event, everybody. Well, main event is actually a promo, but let's get into Moxley and MJF, guys. This is the match. Whether or not we're gonna see MJF walk out AEW World Champion is yet to be seen. I mean, I feel like I feel like this is it. Like, it has to be it, right? Like, it feels like it has to be MJF, but you just never know anymore. But I feel like it has to be MJF, right? So Moxley comes out here and he's basically putting himself over as champion, saying he defined the AEW World Championship, even saying that he talks shit and that he backs it up. He says that he did a little research on MJF and that he found out that he's a good singer, took a summer vacation, and I think he mentioned only having like one win or something. So he said, excuse me if I'm not necessarily shaking in my boots over MJF. This is just a kid playing wrestler. And I think that MJF fears he won't live up to the hype. So a lot of, just bearing MJF during all of this, right? And finally, we have Moxley saying that he challenges MJF to show him that he's actually got something, to show him that he has guts, to show him that he has a pair of balls, etc. So that's what we get from Jon Moxley. Finally, Stokely comes out, and then the Firm comes out, and they all start jumping Moxley. So he's, being outnumbered, and MJF music hits, he runs out, he starts laying out the Firm, and he says that the only reason he helped out Jon Moxley during this is because he doesn't want Jon Moxley's fans to basically have a reason. He doesn't want them to have a reason. So if MJF defeats him at Full Gear, he doesn't want Jon Moxley's fans to be like, oh, it was because of this, and that. So that's basically what MJF went on to say. He then goes on and says that he knows that he's in for the fight of his life, says he's not the same kid that Jon Moxley fought before. And I love this part because he says, you can snap, crackle, and pop every single ligament, joint, and bone in my body. I will not stop because I need that belt more than I need water, more than I need food. Giant pause. And I'm thinking I know where he's going with this. He doesn't go that direction. And then he says, and I need it more than oxygen. And he goes, because when you're the AEW champion, you're the man, you're the best wrestler on God's green earth. And then goes off to say that it is his time to be AEW World Champion. Moxley then starts to tell him, actually, before Moxley even gets to start speaking again, MJF tries to do his catchphrase, but the devil himself. Instead, Jon Moxley cuts him off, and he's like, dude, I've never even seen the point of you anyways. Like, I never saw what the big deal in you is. And as he's continuing on to like get his revenge on this comeback on MJF, he tells him like, this Sunday, and then he pauses and he goes, wait, is this show on Sunday or Saturday? He goes, this Saturday, and then continues on with his continues on with what he was saying to MJF. So this was really just a nice back and forth. I feel like this wasn't like the hottest thing that I'm like the biggest. This wasn't anywhere near the top of best MJF promos or anything like that. But I thought it was fine. I thought, and it could have been maybe a little bit more considering that it is the go home show into Full Gear for this match for MJF, Jon Moxley, but I thought it was fine. I mean, clearly, like, MJF's already had, like, really great promos, and this one was good. It just wasn't, I don't think it really stood out to me as some of the other ones that he's had in the past, but it wasn't bad at all, though. This was fun. This was a fun, just them talking shit back and forth. We got a super chat here from Brandon Rosen. Thank you so much to Brandon for this generous super chat. Brandon says, I hope Full Gear is a fantastic show, not only for the matches and storylines, but because the company has had a rough year behind the scenes. I hope that an awesome pay-per-view is what Tony Khan and AEW need to turn it around. Yeah, I mean, obviously they've been getting, especially coming off of All Out, some consistent bad press. And I know people say bad press is like good. I know some people think that, but it wasn't looking good for a bit there. It kind of got a little ugly for AEW. So they definitely do need to put out a really good pay-per-view and just have everything go the way that they need it to go. None of this, going off the rails, having somebody go off on the media scrum, no bras, this and that. They just need things to run pretty smoothly. So we'll see how things turn out at Full Gear. All right. I think that was about it here. Thank you so much to Brandon for sending this in. Let's see what we got here. This is Melissa Cabello says, wow, will William Regal turn on Jon Moxley? That would be hot stuff, man. Especially after William Regal and MJF's promo, their face off, their back and forth. Now that shit was freaking good. That was all the stars, all of it. That was good stuff in my opinion. I really love that. So I would love to see where else this can go here. This is from Kevin who says, I mean, Regal could turn in MJF, but I don't want the BCC turn on MJF, excuse me, but he doesn't want the Blackpool Combat Club to break up. I don't if he does turn on Jon Moxley, let's just say he does. I don't think, well, first of all, you wouldn't get a breakup officially. It would just be William Regal. I mean, he would just be out, right? But everybody else can still stay together. And Regal could go off and do his own thing with MJF if he wants. But I just don't. What would that look like? MJF and Regal together? I mean, that would be something. What would it look like? Because MJF is his own mouthpiece, so Regal doesn't need to be a mouthpiece or anything like that for him. So what would it be like? Would it be just like he wouldn't be his background? He wouldn't be his he obviously wouldn't be like his Wardlow or anything like that. I don't know, guys. I don't know if Regal's going to turn on Jon Moxley. I'm not too convinced, but what the hell do I know? Heidi Ho is not a bot, sends in a super chat. Thank you so much to Heidi Ho, who says, MJF don't need the diamond ring because Regal is going to hand him the brass knucks to use. So we got a lot of people here kind of feeling like Regal is going to turn on Jon Moxley. And that's been the whole thing too, where it's like Regal was telling him to, do this fairly. And for the most part, MJF has been going about it that way. But what if at the last minute, you're just like, nope, still the same old MJF? We'll have to wait and see. Thank you so much to Heidi Ho, is not a bot, for sending this in. All right, and let's see what else we got here. Let's get some comments and see what people are saying. Oh, man. Yodan says the MVP of AEW is not losing a belt against MJF at Full Gear. I don't know about that, guys. I have a good feeling MJF's going to become champion. I just can't imagine having it not happen at Full Gear. I don't know. Let's see what else we got. This is from Justin, who says, if you notice, the firm guys went down very easily when MJF hit him. This could possibly all be a big swerve, and they help MJF on Saturday. And that's another thing. Okay. Let me get some more thoughts here. This is from Leonard, who says MJF and Regal could be this generation's Flair and JJ Dillon, but it would be absolutely intriguing. Not sure what it'd do to the BCC, especially after whatever happens at Full Gear. And let me see what else we got here. Goat666DB says Regal is the only thing Blackpool about the BCC. So IDK, you have a really good point here. All right. And let's see what else we got here. Oh, man. Oh, that's good stuff, guys. All right. So we got a couple of opinions here. Zeno Hour says Regal shouldn't help MJF. I think that's a bad idea. King of Hueco Mundo predicts MJF babyface turn to be insane. YT points out that the BCC is already falling apart. That is kind of true. We've been seeing some drama there. Jesus. All right. That's going to be something to see how that plays out. YT says, imagine if Regal leaves, it would burst immediately. Yeah. Pretty much, right? And I still feel like they can do a little bit more with that. But I don't know, guys. I don't know if Regal's going to turn or not. We will see. Alrighty, everyone. That was AEW Dynamite November 16th. I seriously want to thank each and every single one of you, as always, for tuning in. Every time you guys tune in, I'm like, oh my God. It just really means a lot to me. So thank you guys seriously so much. Heads up, I don't know I'm going to be here on Friday. My flight gets in, I think, like around 6 or 7 in where am I going? Newark? I keep thinking I'm going to Albany. Like, why do I keep thinking that? I keep thinking I'm going to Albany for some reason. Why? I don't know. Watch me show up to the wrong place. Newark. Newark. Newark is where the show's at. So I'll be showing up there around that time. And I know that East Coast time, SmackDown would start at 8 o'clock. So if I can make it to SmackDown, then I will definitely, if I can make it back to my hotel and be there to watch the show, then I will definitely be here on Friday. If not, then I'll probably just have to be back afterwards. But either way, I will be at Full Gear. Not in Albany, but in Newark. I will be at Full Gear. I will be at the media scrum. So make sure you're following me on Twitter to get all the, information up to date, interesting stuff, tidbits, all of that will be posted there. On top of that, make sure you're subscribed to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Denise Salcedo, because that's where I will be uploading all of the media scrum footage and pretty much anything interesting that I gather over the weekend. So seriously, guys, thank you so much as always. Make sure to tweet, share that you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, it would help me out a whole lot. And if not, I will see you guys back here next week. Bye, everyone. Take care.